we are always preaching as a charity, speak to somebody, let offload, don't let the steam out the kettle, blah 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 blah. But we're also quite vocal about if somebody approaches you or wants to talk to you, then just shut up and bloody well listen without giving too much feedback.
Mhm.
But I'm also seeing the other trend of a few people, mostly blokes. Actually, I've seen the comments by a few women as well. There's no help out there, so what's the point?
Mm.
And I did a video a couple of days ago. I presume you haven't watched it. I only uploaded it yesterday with Ben Pearson, who's a retired copper, and he was saying that actually, in the videos, like if you, what was it? If someone could relate or give advice and all that kind of blah 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 blah, what do you say? And he said how he got on back on the straight and narrow with his mental health. He had to get out of his head the pity party of depression.
Right.
And I think when you've got when you've got depression, it is easy to get into that pity party and end up giving up more. And I'm starting to see comments once again. I did about a year or 2 years ago where let's not beat around the bush. The NHS is a bloody good service. I'm alive because of it. Actually, I think all three of us are, more so with Steve as well. We're alive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
so I know we've done a video about it. I don't want to bring it up, but it's just the NHS is a bloody good service. Most people are alive because of that. But when it comes down to mental health, yeah, the resources are absolutely crap. And I've done videos with doctors, and I asked him the question. I think Steve, I think you commented on that one. I asked him the question, why do doctors just give away the happy pills constantly? And he said quite clearly, that's all the resources I have.
I was chatting to a nurse about this. The perfect time. I was chatting to a nurse about this yesterday, and she was like asking what I did and all the rest of it. I said I'm trustee of a charity called MANUP. She's like, oh yeah, I've heard of them. And she was talking about local places in Bedfordshire that kind of help men and help people with their mental health. And she's regularly taking pictures of this stuff when she sees it and brings it up with the doctors in the hospital and the mental health professionals. And she's massively frustrated because they don't signpost any of it.
Yeah,
The typical response is, and like you said, because the hands are tied, is to go to try these tablets, try this, try that, try the other. But interestingly, she was talking about like cold plunging stuff. So because she started doing cold plunging because she struggled with anxiety.
are you on about cold water therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well,
Yeah. But
like,
I think
I'm a massive fan of it.
rather than diving in the sea, I think it's just kind of almost in like a plunge pool.
Oh, right, okay.
And some of the doctors that she's been talking to about it are starting to come round to that idea and look up these other alternative therapies, if you like. But like you said, that I think the hands are just tied and they're so swamped with stuff. Like I couldn't do what they do. Like first of all, obviously I haven't got the qualification, but like it's relentless for them. Relentless.
Exactly, and I couldn't, but I think this is where I do get frustrated in this world, and I shouldn't do. Is like, okay, well, the I don't know, like we're on the social prescribing list for a few NHSs. I know Kent, and I forgot who the other one is as well. So we are on the socially prescribed the thingy where, and I've worked out through the conversations I've had, doctors tend to tell blokes to watch our videos because that bloke is so stubborn. They won't take the antidepressants. They think they know it, or they're refusing to get counselling. And a lot of them can probably afford it. I'm only going by third-party information. I'm well aware that some people can't. I'm sorry about that.
Afford it? What do you mean financially?
As in financially.
Okay, yeah, okay.
There are no resources for the NHS, and even
no, there's nothing. No.
Yeah, and this is the thing. So, and yeah, I might sound like an arse, but Steve, you've known me for a long time, in a good couple of years at least now. I've been very, very vocal about my depression, about my BPD, anxiety, and all this kind of stuff. But I've had to make steps. And I think, Steve, you watched me make those steps. Even I started doing the camping. I know I keep going on about like the camping and doing that. So I have to make, rather than sitting there in that pity party of no one wants to help me, blah, 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 blah. And I've been there and I've spoken to hundreds of blokes. The proof is on our social media places. We have to make that long, hard decision. We go, right, what steps do we as individuals have to do? Because if we don't, there is no help. Or if there is help, you're gonna have to be waiting for a bloody long time. And
Yeah.
I know I sound like an arsehole.
You don't, not at all, mate.
No, I don't think it is sounding like an arsehole. I think so. There's a couple of things there really that I've dragged out of that. One, I think doctors and old school doctors, and certainly, even all of my oncologists up until the one that I've got now, who's a lovely little Indian guy, are very, very against alternative therapies in any way, shape, or form. If you can't fix it with drugs, then it's not fixable, kind of thing. And they're very draconian about stuff like that. And I was only asking about CBD. I mean, you can go and buy it in Holland and Barrett. It's shit, but you can buy it in Holland and Barrett. And they just wouldn't even talk to me about it. Now, I mean, that's legal.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone other routes, as you probably both well know. So I think that's the first thing, in the fact that doctors won't kind of signpost anything that isn't just, give you a prescription, that's it, you're done, son, piss off, kind of thing. Because they don't know about this stuff. But also, where was I going with this? I think because the NHS is so severely disabled, really, in a way, because it doesn't have the funding, and it doesn't have like sort of real, what I would call like dedicated mental teams, just purely and simply to deal with that, you kind of have to get up off your own backside and do something about it, and maybe there's people around that can kind of cajole their mates along to doing stuff like Sam Phillips does, and he kind of you get, well, if you're feeling a bit rough, come down to the sea with me, come and chuck yourself in the North Sea for a couple of minutes, see how you feel. They're happy to take people on that ride, and kind of almost, but I mean, Sam's doing that stuff himself for himself. Nobody's dragging him down there and saying, well, your prescription says, you got to dump yourself in the North Sea for 2 minutes every morning. Unfortunately, you kind of need to be a bit of a self-starter, and there doesn't seem to be anything out there which is giving these people that are in this pity party kind of state of mind the facility or the ability to self-start. They're not giving them the tuition, the education, I suppose.
And that's the hardest bit, right? Because you've got to recognize what you're going through, and then you've got to have the strength and the courage to be able to either put your hand up for help or take that first step. And that's the biggest bit, but that's also the most important part. Yeah, absolutely.
That's massive.
It's really
that's
tough.
Massive.
Because I can remember when my partner was going through it, and she was kind of going through it, and I had a chat with one of her counsellors, and he kind of said, and chat with him again recently, and he said, like, it's that old phrase, you can lead the horse to water, but the horse is still going to want to drink. It's exactly the same thing. You can push, cajole, encourage, support, whatever it is, but if that decision isn't internal to improve, get better, or whatever it is, or even just take that first step, there's very little you can do. And I think you're spot on with it. And what you said, Steve, as well, is that there's no kind of training or encouragement or support to officially help you take that first step. Like, I wouldn't know what to do. We wouldn't know what to do. We kind of support people in this space. It's like internally, or you're taught like how to take that first step, like address your feelings and stuff. And that's got to start at an educational level, like with kids in reality.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hand-holding exercise. It really is. I mean, you're taking the horse to water but can't make it drink. It's typical, really, because you've handheld all the way to that place where the water is, and all somebody's got to do is take probably one final little step to realise, but you haven't got anybody to handhold in the first place.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. But I don't know. I'm starting to think, after the many conversations I have, I'm starting to think that actually maybe some people have to just get it in their heads. If they're willing to just go, right, there's no help out there, or actually to just go, yeah, I'm right, there is no help out there, so I need to make this step. I need to go to the Andy's Man Club or the Talk Club, or there are hundreds out there. Absolutely hundreds out there. So yeah, we can blame the NHS for the lack of therapy. Well, let's blame the government. I don't want to get political because I know we can't, but it's a shit show.
It is, yeah.
It is.
Oh
And
man, yeah, absolutely. And the kind of like the amount of stuff that gets funded and people that, again, it goes to an education level. Like you go walk in any A&E in the country, anywhere in the country, how many of those people are in there for an actual emergency? And it's probably not a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like there's other ways of dealing with this, and that's just one particular section of the NHS. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but define emergency.
and that's exactly it. You know what I mean? Like some people will be going there because they've just stubbed their toe, and obviously that's a kind of maybe an extreme example. But there'll be people in there that do that because they just don't know where else to go, or they've got a headache, and you're like, that's a massive drain on that part of the NHS, and just it goes round in cycles. It's a real big business. That old like oil tanker thing. Like, how do you change direction of something that's so big and traveling in one direction?
Yeah.
You can't. Like maybe it needs like lots of kind of what we do and lots of other organizations like that is tugboats, if you like, to kind of pull them off course and be like, hang on a minute, this stuff doesn't work.
Yeah, but the thing is that there's literally a charity or even the CIC, a pretend charity, that there are hundreds, thousands of them out there. But I think the problem is as well is some people are stubborn. It's the only word I can think of. So maybe so. Some people are too stubborn. So I'm not doing that. Like years ago, if you'd have told me about Andy's Man Club, I'd be like, sod that, sitting there in a circle crying my eyes out with a load of other blokes sounds awful. Actually, I've seen some of those. I've been in interviews and podcasts and all sorts of them. Actually, they're just a blow to blows, putting the worlds to rights.
Mm.
Do you get what I mean? But I think a lot of these charities and services, they won't work together. Not Andy's Man Club, as we've collaborated on a couple of bits and bobs and whatever else, but they won't share the love.
Yeah, see, which I don't get. And you know, I kind of had this conversation with Tom before we had the thing with the Lions Barber Collective.
Oh right, yeah.
And you know, he said that what he couldn't really understand right at the very outset was he turned up in a room or a hall or whatever it was, and all of these people that are vouching for mental health were all in competition.
Yeah.
What? I mean, you know, my charity is better than your charity. Fuck off. You know, if you're truly headed towards basically curing all of mental health, you know, and you and I have said from day one, Dan, you know, the day that this charity is no longer needed will be the bloody happiest day of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't happen, unfortunately, but you know what? But why is there a competition there for me to be better at, you know, diagnosing or helping with mental health than somebody else? Because everybody's path is different. I don't, you know, when I feel shit, the last thing I want to do is go and throw myself in the North Sea. But it works for Sam.
Well,
so different things work for different people, you know.
And absolutely, I totally and utterly agree with
And
it.
if you think of it from a cost perspective as well, like sticking someone on a course of antidepressants for 18 months, regular check-ins and all that stuff, and we all know the side effects of what they can have. The success rate on them is pretty low compared to go chuck yourself in the North Sea, compared to some of the other alternative therapies that are out there as well. That could
where you're buying your own swimming shorts, you're buying your own towel, you're paying your own petrol to get to the car park. Yeah, it's costing the NHS nothing.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
It beggars belief.
Yeah,
really. You know, and there was a thing actually I watched the other day, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was called, but it was a big castle, and during COVID they really started to struggle with, you know, because obviously they have a lot of people coming in and paying an entrance fee to come and have a look around the castle and around the grounds. And there was a local lady, and I can't remember what program it was on, but she was struggling with her mental health, and she knew that other people in the village were struggling with their mental health. So she went to the landowner, who was a really lovely lady, and she gave them a massive plot and said, you do with it what you want. If you want to grow flowers, you grow flowers. If you want a bit of lawn, you have a bit of lawn. If you want to, so eventually they've had people coming in that have taught them how to build a greenhouse, how to build these like different level like planters, and they've got vegetables going and all sorts. But not only that, and this is all basically based around, you know, helping people with their mental health, but they've also got a lake, a massive, great big lake, and one of the little pathways leads down to a big bench where if you just want 10 minutes out of circulation with everybody else, because everybody else is busy and they're banging and they're painting and they're shouting and, you know, all the rest of it, if you just want 10 minutes peace, you just go and sit down on this bench and it just looks across this lake. I mean, it's just beautiful. But I thought, how clever is that? You know, I mean, she's probably got, you know, I don't know, 30,000 acres in her estate, even even 3,000 acres, and she's given this effectively, I don't know what it look like, maybe half an acre, 3/4 of an acre
It's nothing
of
to us,
disused, with nothing to her. And yet, I mean, you know, when you go and look at it now, I mean, they had to clear it all up and all the rest of it, but it looks absolutely amazing because you've got all these vegetable plots, you've got, you know, roses growing there, you know, they've got a corner for flowers, and it just, I mean, one, it's tidy, two, it's just doing an incredible job for these people that just want to volunteer, that just go, fuck it, I can't deal at home, you know, I need to get out and I just need to go and do something with some other people.
So that's people who didn't want to stay in the pity party.
Yeah, exactly that.
Exactly, and this is the thing, and
Or they've been dragged out. Well, not dragged out, encouraged out of the pity party. You know, I'm going to go and grow radishes. Come with me.
Yeah. Do you reckon that's by the missus? Faye's called me out on stuff and said, right, you're doing mid and you've sorted that out elsewhere else. Well, she's never used the term of we're done, but but let me use an example. Every now and again, Instagram, you'll normally see a woman tag their fella on a video, and he's literally like, you can see the conversation sometimes. It's like, this is you, sort your shit out, else we're done. It's literally, you can see these people at the end of their tether tagging their friends or their partner, and I find that really interesting. But I think that's the other side of the unspoken side of mental health. Yes, we're about supporting individuals and awareness and stigma and whatever else. Actually, what about the people around us?
Oh yeah, because I mean, it affects all of them as
almost
as much as it affects you.
Yeah,
particularly people you live with, because they never get the opportunity really to get out of that bubble.
Yeah, because I had to go. So I know them pretty well. So I'd say to somebody the other day, they're having a bit of a moment. I was like, mate, I was just like, right, okay, you've been offered therapy, you've been offered this, you've been offered that. What are you going to do now? Like, you've been given all of this stuff here, and you keep refusing it, and it's causing everybody else not harm, but it's causing everybody else issues because everyone's just so worried about you, and everybody's trying to help you, but you're not helping yourself. Like, and I remember it's quite a heated conversation. I'm just like, yeah, you've got to help yourself now because everyone else is just running out of resources for you. And I know, yeah, I probably shouldn't be saying this because we're about supporting people with mental health and all this kind of stuff, but we need to get out of that pity party to help the people around us as well. It's not just us as individuals.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of it's also the delivery of that help as well, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Well, it depends on how it is. Yeah, you shouldn't be.
Like if you feel like you're getting pushed into something and you're like, I mean, I hate being told what to do, and you two are probably exactly the same. Like, somebody tries to tell me what to do, my first thing is like, no, absolutely not. And then
I won't do that even if it costs me £1.5 million quid.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. It's
because
like
you told me to do it.
Bingo, that's it. And we as blokes don't like that. We don't like being told what to do. It obviously has a sweeping generalization, but like, if you're being pushed into something, it's sometimes instant reactions to put your back up and kind of push back on it and be like, no, but it might be the best thing that you can possibly do. That's the education point, and that's the hard bit to address, because nature versus nurture and all that kind of stuff, we are built in certain ways. Everybody's different, of course, but there are still some similarities.
But the key word that you used right at the very beginning there, which is exactly what I was going to say, is delivery. It's how you deliver that message, bollocking, encouragement, friendliness, whatever you want to call it. It's how you deliver that.
But I think just more context with this person. This is something what's been going on for a long time, well over a year. And I know damn well that they've been offered a lot of help and a lot of support and given ideas and tricks and all of this kind of stuff as well. And basically just told all of it to go fuck itself. And then it's just like, well, hold up a minute. You've been given all of these options. What you can choose what you want to do, and all of us will support you in this. But fucking choose one.
Yeah.
I think it almost becomes like addictive. And what I mean by that is like there's almost become like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and the kind of person who's in that position almost wants to have that fuss and kind of
No.
Ferrari around them to kind of say like you need to help yourself and do yourself, but it almost gets to a point where you're kind of like, well, I want to feel like I'm wanted and want that feeling to carry on. I don't know like whether I've kind of put that right, but
I'm not sure.
like if you tell an alcoholic to stop drinking, like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to stop drinking. Do you know what I mean? They'll carry on doing it because something inside them wants it. Do you think that they almost get that sense of care and support from people by having that fuss, even though they're not actioning it?
Well, I would say possibly that there are some. Funny enough, when I used to did my stint with helping the homeless, there were some who seemed to kind of enjoy
revel in the intention.
Yeah, I would say
revel in the attention. Sorry,
but when
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, but when it comes down to mental health, and I'll use that dick wave of I've had, as you know, hundreds of conversations. I'll be very, very surprised. I'd have to disagree with that one. But I think somebody said to me, a shop around the corner, she said to me something about an idle brain makes the brain lazy. I think it's an Indian saying or something like that. I probably misquoted it. And I think it's if we get stuck in that pity party of life is horrible, blah blah blah. And trust me, I've been now. I know hundreds of people what have been there as well. And it's hard to get out of it. But when you get stuck into there, where one day of misery turns into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's when like you start getting ill. It starts adding on.
Yeah,
it just gets harder.
Yeah, I get that.
Harder. It gets harder and harder and harder. And even we've done we've had conversations with power lifters, we've had with fitness coaches and whatever else, and all of them are saying, just go for a walk to the end of the garden.
Yeah.
Go to the shops, do something. Just you've got to make that decision to get out of whatever, because whatever you're doing,
loop. You're in a loop. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, it's the whole Groundhog Day kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
that's what, in some ways, that's what I like about it, because it's so individual. Like you've got to find your individual thing that works. And like we've said on numerous occasions, there's so many things that do work. It might be that you've tried 99% of them, but that 1% you haven't tried is the thing that makes the difference.
Yeah.
But when
you've
tried 99% of it, like, and I'm obviously that's kind of overgeneralizing it. Like, how motivated are you to try that 1%? Like that, if you've tried all that stuff and it's not freaking working for whatever reason, like how motivated are you just to try that one more thing? That's a challenge. But I think
it's a hard challenge. Let's keep stamping that.
Massive! It's huge.
It is a hard thing. I've had to get out of that hole many times myself, and I've had to help try and help other people, and lost my rag a few times over the years, and also it is bloody hard to do it. But yeah, again, just going for a walk at the end of the garden, take the dog for a walk, go to the shops, just do something, even if it's for 10 minutes, just to get out of that petty party. And I'm well aware it's a fucking fight. But let's face facts. The NHS is resourcing. You can go to the doctors and you can refuse the antidepressants. You can ask for therapy, but you ain't getting it. So you have to sometimes just get that in your head and go, there is no help, so I need to help myself now. Especially if you've got kids, and I don't want to pass blame. I don't want to pass blame whatever else. But if you've got kids and you've got loved ones around it, maybe that step helps them.
When you say there isn't any help, actually there is a shitload of help, but
not the NHS.
No, the NHS isn't able to either cater for that or signpost it even.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll retract my statement just to shut you up. So there isn't a lot of help with the NHS, but there is help. There's the cold water therapy things. They're going all over the place. And even with Sam, like I know people when I've been there myself. Some people just go there to watch. They go there for a little chat. They don't ever get in the water. There's walks. There's start a fucking fun. Just start. I don't know why my swearing's picked up again. It's because of you two. But just
cheers.
Start a fundraiser for something. Give yourself a goal.
I think a lot of it comes down to just not having a community around people anymore.
It's like
not having that.
is
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Do you know what I
absolutely
mean?
there.
Like if you kind of think of the I guess the emergence and the acceleration of mental health difficulties over the last few years, like how connected are we to everybody anymore? Like how connected are you
No,
to your next door neighbor? And like back in the days of would you'd got everybody be out on the street kicking a ball around and up and down on bikes and stuff. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like how connected are we with
But don't forget,
humans
I
and
mean,
other people?
we're kind of fairly well connected with our neighbours, but we might go for 3 months, 4 months during the winter and not see them.
Hmm.
We see them a fair bit during the summer and stop and have a natter and sort of a cup of tea over the hedge kind of thing and all the rest of it. But that's because they're outside doing stuff and we're outside doing stuff. So you kind of hello mate, you all right? Yeah, and you start to have a natter. That doesn't happen in the winter. Because
No.
I don't just hang around at the end of my garden doing nothing, wallowing in the bloody mud, and my next door neighbour doesn't do the same either. So, so I think especially during the winter, you lose all of that community. That said, when I lived in a village when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, everybody bloody knew me. Everybody knew exactly what I was doing, and that made it back to my mum before I could get back on my bike, kind of thing, But whilst you think that everybody's kind of being busybody, there was that community at that stage because everybody in the village knew everybody in the village.
Yeah.
But we've kind of lost that.
Yeah, and I think we've lost the art of looking for those communities as well.
Yeah,
because they are out. I don't care what anyone says. There's a community for everything.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
Good stuff and some borderline actually next level weird and whatever else. But there is an absolute look at Phil and his Axe Viking stuff.
it's Viking stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
You've got
exactly.
to find your tribe, though, haven't you? That's the thing. Like find your tribe, and I think that's such an important thing to be able to do, and have that sense of community and spirit and involved, no matter what that is, as long as it's not illegal or hurting anybody. Then, like, I'm all for it.
Well, it's taking the fun out of it, though, isn't it?
Well, it would be in Phil's case, yeah.
Yeah, no,
because they're into full-blown fights.
Yeah, so
That's
maybe
what they do, like full-on proper scraps and battle stuff.
Full-blown fights. Yeah, I've known him to have broken collarbones and hands and all sorts. Yeah.
Wow.
But again,
it's nuts.
Hardcore.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's yeah. But do you know what? Yeah, again, he's found his tribe and good on to him. I've heard some really weird stuff like knitting groups and the whole cold water therapy. And I think there's somebody in Colchester, they've started a group dog walk.
Okay.
Done in the name of mental health. Genius. So simple.
Yeah. And that's stuff like everybody could be doing. Do you know what I mean? Like you could start that in your village tomorrow and just put like leaflets through the door on the local Facebook page. I'm going to start a walking group to talk about mental health or whatever. Like, I think we all need to take a little bit more initiative in this stuff. And I think if we all kind of do that, then that's the only way it's going to change. My
sister does it in Wimbledon. They just have a walk on a Saturday morning and everybody just gets together and talks. And they might take them some, bar of chocolate and a cup of coffee or whatever. And the idea isn't really to go and cover miles. The idea is to just get together as a group, wander around for an hour, clear your head, put yourself back in shape, and go home again.
Exactly.
There's a guy on Planet Rock actually. He's a DJ, and you've heard of the band Motley Crue, obviously. So he runs a dog walking group.
Are they still?
Well, yeah, okay. They are still alive. Yeah, somehow.
Oh, okay.
But he started a dog walking group called Motley Crue.
Brilliant.
It's good, isn't it?
It's just really good.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Just,
So maybe it is that if you can't find your community, just start one.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be numbers and all this kind of stuff. And people, and there'll be people watching this. That's easy for you to say. I see it all the time, where people just do the most crazy stuff and they build a nice little community. And arguably, I think it goes back to what you said here, and it's just it gives them purpose.
Yeah,
I think this is the problem with social media and the world we live in. We're all comparing to other people, but we're losing our own identity, and we've got no purpose.
But the good thing about social media is the fact that I can now go, yeah, well, no, it's the flip side, isn't it? The good side of social media, and I know, I hate it as much as most people do, but you can go and look for a dog walking group in your local area, or you can look for, you know, a mechanics workshop, or, you know, these guys that lock themselves away in a hut 2 or 3 times a week and make bird tables, but they're all together and they're all talking and they're all chatting and they're all learning new skills.
No,
That
exactly.
puts an
So
interesting
you can
slant
go
in,
find
like,
stuff like that.
like I saw a post from Gary V a while back, and it was a lady having a chat with him. Like, he films all his content and stuff, and she was like, "I'm worried about the lack of connection my kids have got with their mates because they're all kind of online and everybody see each other face to face." And his point on it was exactly the opposite. He said, actually, kids nowadays are a lot more connected and a lot more aware of thoughts, feelings, and all that kind of stuff than we ever were.
Yeah.
Because they go to school with their friends, they go home, they'll be online with their friends till 9, 10 o'clock at night playing games or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that connection is bigger than it ever has been. So I think, like, a generation, we're probably overthinking that, but that's quite an interesting thing, because if that connection's there, does that mean as these generations are starting to come through, like the stuff that we're doing, we might not be needed because that connection's there and they're all talking about this stuff? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we can only hope, can't we?
So I got a story for you there, because that is absolutely so true. My son, who's now 24, a couple of years ago, he came up to stay for a few days, and I said to him, "Don't you ever get off that bloody phone?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'm chatting with all my mates." And I said, "Well, okay." And he said, "No." He said, "But Dad," he said, "you don't understand." He said, "It's the equivalent of you going down the bus stop," he said, "when you were 16, 18 and hanging around at the bus stop." He said, "Except I don't have to go out and get cold."
Mm.
And I thought, yeah, because you know, when you look back at all of our childhoods and all the rest of it, we'd go and meet at a bus stop or go and cycle around the village for what?
For fun.
For fun. Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Well,
To be with our mates.
yeah, no,
And then go home.
yeah, and I think this is the thing, and I noticed this the other day. Like, if you walk down any high street on any road, if you start walking, if someone's walking this way and they've got their mobile phone, purposely try and walk into. Obviously, don't walk into them and watch what happens. No, and seriously, watch what happens. You'll see even other people when they nearly bump into each other. The person who's not necessarily on the phone, like, oh, sorry, they'll move out of the way. The person on the mobile phone will shit themselves.
Jump out of their skin, yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah. But how many times have you seen on videos, you know, where people walk into lampposts or people walk out into a road and almost get hit by a car because they're just glued?
No, I mean,
so there are limits.
Yeah, absolutely. You get so engrossed in it, don't you?
Yeah,
sucked right in, and that's why it's so clever. Like, all this technology, it's designed to do that.
Yeah. No, exactly that. And I think this is where the whole technology. So I had a rant. I think I put it on thinking about the just turn off all that notifications and all this kind of stuff, because I think it's making social anxiety even worse. It's making us more social by staring.
I think if you suffer from stuff like that, you know, and the fact that you've got 3 text messages sitting there which you haven't looked at or haven't answered, and you're starting to get twitchy about it, rather than me, which is like, fuck it, I'll come back to that later. You know, I can't be bothered with it now. I haven't got time. But some people get really twitchy. You know, they need to check it like now.
I can't do it. That's why.
And you need to kind of learn how to turn that all off and grow out of that.
That's tough, right? Because, like, I've noticed a massive difference in my folks. So my dad is he's just turned 71, right? And they had a rule at home. They would put their phones away at like 9 o'clock. They were like, we're not going to, like, we couldn't phone them after 9 o'clock because they put their phones away. And over the last few times they've come down, there's a couple of times I've just sat in the lounge, I've had the kids around and everything, and we're all sat there on my phones. Like, even my dad and my stepmom are doing it now because they're involved, and they're chatting away to each other. Says, "Oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that?" And I'm like it's everybody does it. Everybody gets sucked into it and kind of want to be permanently connected. But, like, I think there's a degree of anxiety attached to that as well. Absolutely, Steve. It's like
FOMO.
You've got to respond to stuff, and you don't want to switch off. And
exactly.
That accountability bit as well. Like, you can have anybody from the other side of the world who could just log on online and give you a load of grief for what you just put online, and you kind of go, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas that would never happen before. Like, if you were out and about without pre-internet and stuff, and someone gave you a bit of shit, you'd probably have a little bit of scrap and then shake hands at the end of it, and everything would be good. Like, you can't do that because there's no accountability.
You don't have the opportunity to do that, do you?
No.
Yeah, and that's the problem. But yeah, again, this is why I think we just need to every now and again just to turn that stuff off.
Yeah.
Find out.
We're up about the half-hour mark, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So
You're good at that though, aren't you? Because that's why you go away. You do that camp and have that like digital detox and switch all that stuff off because you're acutely aware of the impact it has on you.
yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, again, I've said this before. I don't have time to do that stuff. I lead the charity. I've got a business. I've got a staff and all this kind of stuff. I haven't got time to do any of that. Steve hasn't got any time to do that husky racing. I don't even know what you do, Ian, but I haven't got time to do that stuff. I have to make time.
Yeah.
And for me to make time,
you have to start ignoring things, and one of the first things to go is social media.
Yeah, no, exactly that.
Because it's a lot of wank.
Yeah. On that bombshell, we are done before we keep dragging it on.
Yeah.
Let me hit that button. Where are we?